For the last year, we've been reporting every aspect of the COVID disaster in the country. But perhaps not enough has been said about the losses. There have just been so many of them. But the loss of lives is not ordinary. We cannot for a moment treat it like that. More than 3 lakh Indians have lost their lives to COVID in the last 1 year, and there are those who want to remember and never let us forget each and every one of them. We are joined by those who are a part of the National COVID Memorial, a wonderful, poignant online site, and Article 14, a great effort by journalists focusing on justice. Tonight, we'll be looking, among other things, at our bodies as evidence. That's something that Article 14 has done. I'll be joined by Helanka, Pramod Bhasin and Abhijit Choudhury. Thank you all very much for being with us. Before we go across to them, I'd just like to play out some of these very poignant images from their respective online sites, which give us an idea of the incredible loss that we've gone through in the last 1 year, something which we have sadly normalized in so many cases. All right, well, joining us now, we've got a very special panel. Abhijit Choudhury, Pramod Bhasin and Helanka. I'd like to go across to Mr. Bhasin first. He's somebody very closely attached with the National COVID Memorial. It's just such a wonderful thing to do at this stage. Mr. Bhasin, what made you decide to be a part of this?
Vishnu, thank you for this. And you have Abhijit Choudhury, who's really the founder here, and I'm sure you'll talk to him about it. I think the memorial is about remembrance and respect. Respect for the tragedy that has hit so many people around us, which is so profound and deep, and I wonder how it will impact the psyche of our nation for years ahead, especially younger people, younger children. And remembrance, because we can't forget, we cannot, after all this is past, go back to life as normal. We have to stand up, and unlike many other societies who remember a lot of their history or the issues, the Jewish people, various countries that have fought various armies, various places where tragedies have struck or storms have happened or tsunamis or cyclones have happened. We must also remember all these people, both individually and for the sake of our country, to make sure this does not happen again, and that we remember what happened, why it happened, and how as a nation we have to come together to make sure it can't happen again.
Yeah. Helanka joins us. He's the editor of Article 14. And let's have those, the images of Article 14 and our bodies as evidence is this project of theirs which they've embarked on. Let's play those out for a moment as well. In fact, this is the other one. Let's play the Article 14 video because I wanted to ask Samar about that. So let's just change that video to the other one that we've been rolling out. Samar, tell us a little bit about our bodies as evidence, what we've got up on our screen now. It's just wonderful when you see it on your smartphone, all of these images from different parts of the country. These are not necessarily people anybody knows, but is that what the message is? There are so many people we don't know, but so many lives which have been destroyed.
Well, I think many of these people are, as you said, people we don't know. They're security guards, they're housewives, they're, the ordinary man and the ordinary woman who you might not notice on the street. But obviously all of them have got stories that are important to their families, to their communities, and to this country. So I think the point of doing this was to ensure that of course, that their stories continue and that we recognize these stories. And the second reason was that we should not forget what led to their deaths. I think when we started gathering these stories, we found a common thread among many stories, not all but many, but in the sense that many of them died waiting for medical help, waiting for oxygen, waiting for bed, all those stories that we are familiar with. So this is the reason. So these are the two reasons that we started this memorial. We would, of course, ideally have liked to run the stories of all whatever 400,000 or 500,000 who have died, but that obviously, of course, is not possible, at least not right now. So we thought we should at least run some stories to give people an idea that behind all those numbers that we discuss every day, behind the numbers we debate, and behind those numbers that rise and fall, there are all these stories, and there are these stories that we should never ever forget.
Mr. Bhasin, is it your fear or your concern that the loss of lives has become some sort of a new normal in our country? The numbers are so large, the fact that all of us have lost friends along the way at some stage, that the intensity or the reality of what has happened is perhaps lost upon us.
One of the tragedies of India is that life is very cheap, I'm afraid. I think in the cities, a lot of attention has been paid on this because of what's been happening in the cities. I wonder what's been happening in the rural areas and the villages where you have absolutely no healthcare available at all, and how they have coped and fared, and their situation must be terrible. And therefore, I think we must find a way not to go back into status quo. And that is exactly my fear, as you said, that after this has passed, we will breathe a big sigh of relief. We'll be very grateful that we're all alive, because today, this fear amongst us is so enormous that you just pray and hope that you come out of this. And then we go back to square one. And that will be a terrible outcome if we don't all express our views, our voices, and through this memorial, make sure we remember there's so much we have to do in our country, not just for ourselves in the big cities, but across the country for the people who have really suffered. You know, as Samar is saying, it's an entire range of people that we know, from CEOs to the President of India, the former President of India, to a rural worker. The enormity of this is so huge that I think it will affect our psyche quite deeply, Vishnu. I don't know how many of us are looking at this. I'm sure many people are. I'm sure the doctors are looking at this. But it will affect human psyche much more and change our behavior much more. And one of the behaviors I hope it will change is that we will demand more urgency, more immediacy, more speed in providing the solutions and the infrastructure that our country sorely lacks. And that's the main hope that I have, that we will drive change as a result of this, and not just sit back with a sigh of relief and say, thank God that didn't happen to me, and then get on.
Yeah. Abhijit Choudhury, who was actually very behind this particular project, the images of which we are seeing, joins us. Abhijit, thanks very much for being with us. You know, we are seeing these faces of people, I mean, I don't know who they are, most people may not. On what basis did you select these names, and was it ever challenging for you, because we've lost so many and your online memorial can only honor just a few?
No, absolutely. You know, when the fast wave, during the fast wave, we found so much agony in people who had left us. And you know, during the initial part of the fast wave, even the relatives were not allowed to see the face of the person. So I can still remember a person getting into an ambulance when we, on behalf of COVID Care Network, were doing destigmatization activities, and getting into an ambulance and telling, I don't want to die because, you know, nobody is going to see my face at all. And unfortunately, that person really did not come back home. And, you know, so many stories, such stories are with us all across the country. And we thought at some point that such unceremonious and unsung exit is probably not the right one for any Indian, for that matter. And we started thinking that there should be a place where we should pay them respect, pay them as much national respect, as much homage as everybody should get, and their relatives should go back. And so, you know, it was, we had consulted we have got so many advisors with us, and Pramod is, you know, one of our advisors ever since we started moving. And we had discussed amongst ourselves what's the best way to move on this. We all discussed that grief is a very personal phenomenon, and many people don't want to open the chapter, the so-called black chapter, if I call that, at a very personal level. So it may be, people would like time to come back and place their memorial, because somebody may feel that I don't want to again think that he or she is no more. And that happens. We have seen this in experience also. Yeah.
So, just one moment. I just want to go back to Samar. I'm running short on time. There's been this cliche for such a long time that we don't really value human life in our country. People come, they live, they die, nobody really cares. Do you believe that this effort of yours with Article 14 would go a small way perhaps in changing that?
I believe it will go a small way. We are, of course, not on the scale of the National COVID Memorial, which I must say is a fantastic effort. We are, of course, much smaller. We have tried to be representative. We have tried to get people from all geographies, from all kinds of backgrounds, etc. I think, as Indians, we are very bad at remembering, chronicling, recalling. And at a time like this, in the age of COVID, the one defining characteristic has been often that people die in a flash. One day they're there, one moment they're there, and then they're gone. And it's something, it's very surreal and very unreal. So we hope that this, the effort that we have put in will go some way, a small but significant way, in ensuring that we remember that in this, in these brief moments, in these quick deaths, sometimes prolonged, of course, but in the quick way in which they disappeared, that they will continue to live on through our memorial.
Samar, the images, some of which we are playing out now, there are a couple of images of two women, and they don't have a face; it's just blank white. Why is that the case?
Because we could not get the photograph of some of these people. So we were very clear that we should get the photographs, and much as we tried, some of them we just could not. Some families didn't have photographs. Right. Other families just did not have them handy. And some we just could not get. They were just too far and too remote to get these. And obviously, of course, there was a limited time, and we'll continue trying to get those. But some of them don't. But I must mention that we have the actual photographs, but all these, the photographs, the illustrations that you're seeing are all done by one artist, Tara Anand, and she has actually sketched all 100 of these. And I think it was a tremendous effort to do that based on the photographs. But of course, as I said, we didn't have all the photographs much as we tried.
No, it's just remarkable, and thank you all of you for joining us and trying to make a difference, to try and get people to remember what we've gone through. These are unfortunately perhaps the most traumatic times that we'll all face in our lives, certainly as a country. Thank you very much for sharing the stories, just a little bit, of those who aren't with us today.